Hi guys, welcome back to WatchGauge. My name is John Keel, and I am super happy that you guys are all tuning in, checking this out, commenting, sharing, liking, following, and all that fun stuff. Today's video is for a special occasion, actually two special occasions. One of them, I'm going to announce a new range of watches that we have here on WatchGauge, which I am really thrilled about. I've been waiting quite a while for this one, and then I've got a surprise at the end, so stay tuned. Don't press stop yet, don't press pause. Don't go to another website or another video. Hang out, check this out. You're gonna love it if you love watches. So let's get to the wrist check and the first reason we're doing this video. This particular watch on my wrist I'm about to show you is a watch that has been introduced over the last couple of weeks by its brand NTH, as many of you are all well aware of. And so Chris introduced a new model called the DevilRay a couple months ago. Has been in pre-order on his site for a short while, and finally get to put it on WatchGauge. So today, the DevilRays by NTH are up and are live. So let me kind of give you guys an idea how a lot of these micro brands work. Typically, they introduce a design, they put it up for pre-order up on their website, and during that pre-order, you know, they already have a determined amount of pieces they're gonna make, and during that pre-order, you know, they sell maybe half or a bunch or whatever it may be, and then once the watch comes out, they continue to sell the watch. In NTH's case, especially now, especially with the DevilRay, he's almost blown through the majority of the watches he's gonna make. A total of about 300 pieces are being made. The majority of them are already spoken for, already sold. I'm super proud to be able to put them on WatchGauge, and so they're going to be delivered in, it looks like the end of February, which is actually well ahead of his original schedule. But at the end of February, these watches are going to be delivered. The one thing I'm telling you now is that when the delivery date comes, you won't be able to buy them. They'll be gone already. So we have a very limited amount of them on WatchGauge.com. I'm going to give you a closer look, and again, I've got a little bit of a surprise at the end. So let's get into the closer look at the NTH DevilRay. I'm super excited. I know you're going to be too. Check it out. So there are 4 dial variations of the NTH DevilRay. Chris was kind enough to send me 2 of the prototypes. The one here is the silver dial version. If I can bring that a little close while keeping it in focus and avoiding too much glare. So this is the silver version. The one on my wrist that I'm wearing is the black version. There is also an orange dial, as well as the one I happen to really love is the turquoise dial. Now this turquoise dial, you know, it's very rare to see a watch with this colored dial. I think it's really unique. There is an available turquoise rubber strap for it. Very cool piece. I definitely see this one being part of my collection. As far as the styling for the NTH DevilRay, it certainly takes cues and is reminiscent of some of the divers watches from the 1960s, 1970s. You've got this really nicely made unique cushion style case, so it's not round, it's not square, it doesn't have any corners really on it to speak of. It's mostly a brushed case, and you can see a very thin line there of some polishing. Gives it a nice little pop right along the sides here. The case measures 43 millimeters in diameter from side to side, not including the crown. And it's 13.5 millimeters thick, so it's a decent sized watch, but certainly isn't too tall, very wearable, and at 43.5 millimeters, it's kind of on the big side for what I tend to like, but because of the curvature of this case, it wears very nicely. I don't know if I can get this angle for you, but you'll see it wrap around my wrist nicely and comfortably. A lot of guys have asked, although I've said it before, I've got a 7.5-inch wrist. I typically love the 40 millimeter space, but 43 with the curved cushion case like this, it wears pretty nicely. And I don't find it uncomfortable whatsoever. Going further into the dimensions, the lug width is 22 millimeters, so it's a very standard lug width if you want to throw on a NATO, a rubber, a different kind of bracelet.
I happen to love this bracelet. I'm not a bracelet guy. I've said it a million times. You'll hear me say it a million more. This bracelet was actually designed by Chris and his team. It was made specifically for Chris and his team. It's Chris refers to it as a tank tread style bracelet. 5 links across, all brushed with the exception of the thin center link there, which has got a light polish to it. It's not a super high polish at all. The one aspect that I really love that makes me kind of say, hey man, I can wear a bracelet is the fine adjustment. So before I get into that, we've got a double button deploying clasp. If you press one button, it's not going to open, so it's super secure. You press 2, it opens nicely. It's very, very sturdy, very strong. But getting into what I love, I'm not a bracelet guy, particularly because when I wear bracelets, no matter how I size them, they don't seem to fit properly. They're either a little too tight, a little too loose. I can't stand when my watch moves around on my wrist. So you'll notice two little buttons here. That is for the micro adjustment, the fine adjustment. So you can actually size this watch while it's on your wrist. To me, for a micro brand to be doing something of this high quality is absolutely amazing. So I've been wearing the DevilRay for a few days now. And again, I'm not a bracelet guy, I don't love bracelets, but with this fine adjustment, I can loosen it up a little if I want. I can tighten it if I want. You know, let's say for instance, I go out to dinner with my wife. One of our favorite places to eat is a Japanese restaurant not too far. And you know, I go a little heavy on the soy sauce sometimes. I wake up the next morning and the bracelet won't even close. I'm just so bloated. So in this particular case, press the 2 buttons, open it up a little, and voila, it'll fit comfortably, it'll fit smoothly, it won't strangle my wrist. And then later in the day, as that water retention wears off, I tighten it back up and we're good to go. So I absolutely love this bracelet. I might consider keeping the watch on the bracelet for a while. We'll see. But I also have some intention of a cool NATO or rubber for this one as well. So as far as the specs are concerned, we knocked those out of the way. We're 43 millimeters, 13.5 millimeters thick, 22 millimeter lugs. It's a stainless steel case, 316 stainless steel, mostly brushed, a little bit of polish. This case is rated for 50 atmospheres or 500 meters. This is a true dive watch. This thing is really well built, really sturdy, really strong, and it's got a serious depth rating to it. Adding to the diver theme, you'll notice all the lume on the watch. I'm going to take a lume shot in a minute and I'll post that up in the video. But you've got a bright orange hand with a really thick coating of lume in the center there. Same with the hour hand. The markers are extremely full of superluminova. The bezel itself is fully lumed, so the 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as the minute hashes and marks and the 5, 10, 15, 20, full of lume, this entire bezel, the entire dial. And one of my favorite aspects of what Chris does, it's such a little touch. You've got the NTH logo here on the crown, also full of lume. So here's a shot of the watch in the darkness, full lume. Check out those hour hands, the minute markers, the bezel, the crown. Absolutely great visibility for the darkness, full of lume. I absolutely love it. So the crown is screwed down. The bezel itself is pretty unique. You've got 2 rings there. In the bezel, you've got around the perimeter the hours, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, all the way back around. But then you have another chapter ring here where it's got a dot at the 12 o'clock for 0. You have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20, as well as the minute hash marks in between. So it's a pretty unique dial. It's full of data for you, easy to read, super legible. The second hand also has lume on it. It's got an orange tip there at the bottom. This happens to be a date model. Now the DevilRay is available both in date and no date versions. When you go on WatchGauge and check them out, you can choose between which dial color you want as well as a date or no date. So one design aspect is the multicolor ring on the perimeter of the dial. So if you're looking at the dial around the very, very edge perimeter, here you've got red going from about the 0-minute marker to 10. From 10 to 15, you've got orange. From 15 to 20, you've got yellow. And then from 20 on, you've got an aqua / turquoise kind of color. So with talking to Chris one day about it, the first time I saw this prototype, we were in Connecticut for a Divers Watches Facebook group get together, and I was asking him about the colors, and it turns out they're actually very functional. When you go diving, you can use this as a rough depth gauge. When you go diving, as you go deeper, with the change of pressure, as well as, I guess, the oxygen in your body or the gas is increasing, your eyes actually tend to lose certain colors in visibility the deeper you go. So you know there's a certain depth, and I can't tell you the exact depths, to be honest with you, but if you go down, a certain depth, you lose visibility of this red. And then you'll see the orange and yellow and blue. Then you go deeper, you lose visibility of the orange. And the deeper you go, you lose visibility of the yellow. And that kind of gives you a very rough idea of how deep you are going into the water. I think that's a really cool factor. I've seen it on watches from the past. I never knew what they were for, but that is the absolute beauty of this industry and being a fan of watches and collecting and selling and things. You get to learn stuff every single day. And this is one of the more unique factors that I've learned, one of the more unique aspects that I've learned over the course of the last couple months or year. With the bezel, it's a 120 click unidirectional bezel. Really smooth, easy grip. So with the edge of the bezel here, if I can get this in focus, around the edge of the bezel is a sawtooth pattern, which means it goes up and in on an angle, up and in on an angle, almost like the teeth pattern of a saw. That gives this watch a really, really easy functionality of gripping that bezel and turning it. Taking a look at the case back of the DevilRay, you've got a really very deep, very nicely done engraving of a stingray, both in polished and brushed. Really finely done, something you certainly wouldn't expect on a watch that retails for $700 from a micro brand.
And last and certainly not least, the DevilRay is powered by a Swiss movement. It is the STP 1-11 automatic that beats at 28,800 beats per hour and has a power reserve of 44 hours. So as you can see, the DevilRay is kind of a bit different than most of the diver watches coming out there on the market, particularly from micro brands. I am in love with this particular watch. So jump on WatchGauge, check it out. But down to the surprise. What I'm going to tell you is something I'm really excited about. I'm excited about the DevilRay, but what makes it even more exciting is that the surprise is we're doing a WatchGauge limited edition special only for WatchGauge, and it's up on watchgauge.com now. Now, here's the deal. When I started WatchGauge a couple months ago, I was talking to Chris about doing this particular limited edition watch. WatchGauge hadn't had the exposure that it's had. It hasn't had the amount of success with social media following and everybody, all you guys that are doing such a great job to help WatchGauge succeed. We didn't have that back then when I was originally talking to Chris. So here's the sticking point. We only committed to 15 watches. I was afraid to commit to more than that in case we weren't up and running that well. But now that we're up and running, I would have felt more comfortable getting a whole lot more of the limited edition DevilRays, but we're making 15 pieces. 15 only. Obviously, I'm keeping one, so there are 14 available for you guys to purchase on WatchGauge. It's got a really cool color combination. I chose, along with Chris, to incorporate gray and orange because that's kind of the color theme of WatchGauge and the feel of the brand. So it's got a really cool orange and gray dial. It still has the rainbow depth meter gauge thing that we spoke about around the perimeter. It's got a light gray bezel. I'm really excited about this watch. I love it. I can't wait to get on my wrist. And 14 other people aside from me will ever own this watch. So So there we are. I'm again super excited. The NTH DevilRay has already been a massive success, and they haven't even delivered them. And let's try to blow these things out well before delivery. I think it would be fun. I think you guys could be excited about that, and certainly would be a feather in the cap for both me as watch gauge, NTH as NTH, and you guys as watch enthusiasts to be the only guys to have a DevilRay on your wrist. So, in conclusion, let's wrap it up. I thank you guys so much for your support always. I appreciate you guys subscribing to YouTube. If you haven't yet, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. And finally, anything at all, feel free to put comments, whether it's here on YouTube or if you're watching it on Facebook. Feel free to comment, share, like, ask questions. And the last thing before I go, I am going to be starting an AMA, an Ask Me Anything series. So anything watch related, whether it's micro brands, whether it's high-end brands, whether it's styles, taste, whatever it may be. I've got 18 years of experience in the industry. I love talking watches. I get a lot of questions from both you guys, from friends, from anybody I know. We start talking watches. So I figured it'd be cool if you guys want to send me questions. Either you can put the questions in the comments, in front of the question, write AMA in big letters, AMA, and then ask a question. Or you can email watchgauge@gmail.com, and in the subject line put AMA and ask away. Because what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start doing a video series, hopefully maybe once a week, once every other week, where I grab a bunch of these questions and kind of just go through them and have a question and answer session with you guys. So if you send me questions, hopefully it'll get read and answered on video to be put on YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere else. And once again, thank you so much. It's currently Friday afternoon while I'm recording this, so if you're watching this, or if I get it up in time, have a fantastic weekend and jump on and check out those NTH DevilRays. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you really soon.